They said it couldn't be done without foreign aid. They said a poor African nation couldn't build something this big without the IMF, World Bank, or Western powers. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré just proved them wrong. This is the story of Burkina Faso's massive irrigation canal, built not with loans but with will. For decades, the country suffered from droughts, poor harvests, and food shortages. Foreign donors sent aid, but always with strings attached. The IMF offered money but demanded control. The World Bank offered development, but charged it with debt. And so, year after year, Burkina Faso remained hungry, dependent, broken. But then came a soldier, with no suit, no fancy economics degree, just one belief. If we wait for them to feed us, we will starve forever. We must water our own land, with our own hands. And that belief became a project the world didn't see coming. In early 2024, under Traoré's direct command, a 50-kilometer canal was approved. Not with Western consultants, not with international engineers, but with local minds, local machines, local muscle. They worked day and night, soldiers, farmers, youth, even ex-rebels from the Green Brigades. No salaries, no contracts, just one shared goal: water the land, feed the people, prove them all wrong. And within months, the dry earth began to change. What was once barren desert started to bloom. The canal, dug by hand in many parts, stretched like a scar of hope across the land. And when it was finally opened, a miracle unfolded. Rice fields appeared where there was once dust. Wheat sprouted in villages once forgotten. Cattle returned, markets reopened, children laughed in irrigation puddles. The West stayed silent, because how do you explain a miracle you didn't sponsor? How do you justify your billion-dollar programs when a so-called poor country builds a canal with no loans, no debt, and no permission? Traoré called it the Canal of Dignity. And in his speech at the canal opening, he said, "This water carries no chains. It flows with freedom." Burkina Faso had done it. No IMF, no World Bank, no begging, just vision, and a leader who refused to be told, "You can't." This wasn't just a canal. It was a message to Africa, to the Muslim world, to every nation shackled by fake aid and false promises. You don't need to sell your soul for water, and that's why the world is stunned. Because in a time where billions are spent on war, one man chose to dig, and he found hope.
As a child, I would watch Africa on television, always the same images: children with flies, dry lands, weapons, death.
As the water flowed through the veins of dry villages, something deeper began to awaken: pride. Old men who once watched their crops die under the scorching sun now stood in disbelief, watching canals carry life through their fields. Women who had walked miles with jerry cans now drew clean water just steps from their homes. Children, once sick from thirst, splashed joyfully in the runoff streams. This wasn't charity, this was resurrection. And the secret behind it? Community. Traoré didn't just order the canal to be built, he made it a movement. Every village along the canal's path had a say. Local engineers were trained on site. Tribal elders blessed each milestone of the project with prayer and unity. Even rival ethnic groups laid aside decades of mistrust, because when water flows, division dries up. And the best part? No foreign debt, no corporate ownership, no secret contract in a European capital. The canal belonged to the people. And they protected it, not with guns, but with love. But soon, outside forces started to panic. Water is power, and power, in the hands of a sovereign African nation, is a threat. Whispers began to circulate. Foreign-funded NGOs tried to discredit the project. Reports were published questioning the canal's environmental impact. Western media tried to twist the story, saying it was unsustainable, reckless, populist. But the people of Burkina Faso didn't listen, because they could see the results with their own eyes. Crops tripled. Markets overflowed. For the first time in living memory, Burkina Faso exported food. And then, something even more shocking happened. Mali and Niger sent delegations, not to negotiate, not to criticize, but to learn. Traoré opened the books, showed them how it was done, step by step. No patents, no restrictions, just one message. If we can do it with nothing, imagine what you can do. The canal became a symbol, a crack in the wall of Western dependence. And now, leaders across Africa, tired of debt, tired of fake development, are looking to Burkina Faso and asking the same question. What if we built our own? Because in a world where nations rent their future for a glass of water, Traoré showed them how to dig deep and drink with dignity.
2 weeks after young officers ousted Burkina Faso's transitional president in the country's second coup in less than 9 months.
Soon, the Canal of Dignity was no longer just a waterway, it became a pilgrimage site. Farmers from across Africa arrived to walk its banks. Engineers came with notebooks, measuring tapes, and cameras. Students stood in silence, listening to the wind pass over fields once cursed by drought. And there, standing beside them, not in a suit, but in dusty boots and rolled-up sleeves, was Captain Traoré. No bodyguards, no luxury cars, just a leader standing with the people, as if to say, this canal is not a miracle, it's a memory of what we can do when we stop waiting for permission. But with every success came new threats. Foreign companies that once controlled Africa's food chains began lobbying against Burkina Faso. Satellite images were used to track crop growth. Pressure mounted at the UN. Aid agencies offered irrigation partnerships, a fancy term for recolonization by contract. But Traoré didn't blink. He rejected them all. Why should we give the keys to the house we built ourselves? He asked. The people stood with him, because now they understood the bigger picture. This was never just about water. It was about control, about rewriting the old colonial script, about showing the world that Africa doesn't need saviors, it needs self-respect. The canal fed more than crops, it fed a movement. Universities started offering free irrigation courses. Mosques included farming tips in Friday sermons. Songs were written about the canal. Children named after the villages it flowed through. And every drop of water told the same story. We built this, we own this, we protect this. And as rainfall returned to the region, not from foreign help, but from restored ecosystems, people began whispering something once unimaginable. We don't need the West, not because of hate, but because of hope. Because when you taste the fruit of your own labor, when your land answers your prayer, when your people rise with full bellies and proud eyes, you realize something powerful. Freedom is not a dream, it's a harvest. And Traoré, he didn't claim victory, he just smiled and moved on to the next village. Because in his eyes, the canal wasn't the end, it was only the beginning.
On va faire notre mieux pour vous aider de développer dans toutes ces sphères.
With the success of the Canal of Dignity, a wave of inspiration swept across the Sahel. In southern Burkina Faso, farmers who once migrated for work returned to reclaim abandoned land. In the north, where jihadist groups once ruled, water brought a new kind of power. Former fighters traded rifles for shovels. Warlords lost their grip because hope feeds stronger than fear. And the people? They began to dream bigger. If we can build a canal, why not build a dam? If we can feed ourselves, why not power our homes? Traoré listened. He didn't speak of utopias or global partnerships. He spoke plainly. No one is coming to save us. But if we work together, we won't need saving. The military, once trained for combat, was now trained in construction, engineering, agriculture, and education. Barracks became training centers. Commanders became coordinators. And the youth? They no longer fled to Europe or extremist camps. They stayed to build. And then came a historic moment. Burkina Faso offered aid, real, physical aid, to a neighboring village across the Malian border. Water pumps, farming equipment, seeds. No conditions, no cameras, no signatures. Just one brother helping another. The world didn't know how to respond. The IMF silent, the World Bank confused. Because this wasn't part of the plan. Africa wasn't supposed to help Africa, but it did, and it started with one canal, dug by those who were told they could never stand on their own. Traoré proved otherwise, not through slogans, but through soil, sweat, and sovereignty. And every field that grows under the sun of Burkina Faso now whispers a single defiant truth. We are no longer waiting. This wasn't just a canal, it was the beginning of a new mindset. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And for more powerful, untold stories, stay connected.